Thursday we did democracy, the key elements of democracy, dimensions of democracy. Does anyone have any doubt? Please post your doubts in the chat box. We have also covered the salient features of Indian Constitution, preamble, fundamental rights, directive principles of state policy, and fundamental duties. So if you have any doubts, we can just resolve them. I'll give you 2 minutes to put your questions in your chat box. If not, then we will proceed with the revision. All right, let's move on. So today we'll start our revision by revisiting our fairy tales. We all as children have always been fascinated by various fairy tales. May it be like Cinderella, Beauty of the Beast, Red Riding Hood, and so on. But while looking at these fairy tales now, after looking at the Indian Constitution and being aware about certain human rights or fundamental rights which we have, can we identify any rights which were violated in these fairy tales? Right? Can we point out as to what happened, what all rights were violated in the fairy tale of Cinderella? Yes, can anyone tell me? Anyone? It's a small exercise for you all to relate problems or any kind of issues to the Constitution and the fundamental rights, directive principles, or fundamental duty. You should be able to relate. Just knowing your rights is not important. Anyone?
Right to freedom of speech.
Yes.
And, yeah.
Yes, very good. Any other in Cinderella? Was she exploited? Was there unequal treatment given to her?
Yes.
Yes, ma'am.
Right? So those are violation of our fundamental rights.
Yes, ma'am.
Yes. Anything else was there? Child labor?
Yes.
What about Beauty and the Beast?
She was locked by him.
Yes. Unlawful confinement. So is there any writ which we can use over here? Any of the constitutional remedies? We saw 5 writs yesterday. Habeas corpus, certiorari, mandamus, prohibition, and quo warranto. Which will be applicable if there is unlawful detainment?
Habeas corpus.
Habeas corpus, right. So this is the way in which you can evaluate any problem or any story for that matter, any situation. So there are certain interesting questions which I would like to post based upon fairy tales itself. Should Goldilocks go to jail if if the matter is before the court? Is she guilty? Yes.
Ma'am, yes, ma'am. Because she broke into the house, didn't she?
Yes, and she broke into the house, trespassing. Right. Is the boiling water fair punishment for a pig-eating wolf? You know the tale of the four pigs, right?
Ma'am, could you please repeat the question?
Is boiling water a fair punishment for pig-eating wolf? No one? All right. Next question will be, why are all bad-looking characters evil in nature? Is it violating any right? You might have noticed that in all fairy tales, the dark, ugly looking characters are the bad ones, the evil ones. Are we kind of discriminating?
Yes, ma'am, it's unfair.
Yes, the discrimination.
We are violating their right of equality?
Yes.
Right. So now, in any case, any problem, anywhere you read any kind of article, please try and think about any kind of violation which has taken place and connect it. Why you have to do these exercises? Because you will understand these provisions better if you try and relate it to our daily lives. Okay, you have to also see as to how you will evaluate whether the limitation which is put on your freedom, any kind of fundamental right, is reasonable or not. Right? Reasonableness is very important when we evaluate or we decide whether this kind of right has certain limitations and these limitations are reasonable enough or not. Okay, so with that, I have 15 MCQ questions for you based upon what concepts we have finished earlier. I want you all to write down the answers, correct answers. I will share the slide having the correct answers, and then you have to post your results in the chat box. It's mandatory. All right? Can we evaluate ourselves? Are we big enough? Yes? Can we do that? All right. The first question is on your screens. Please read it carefully. Fundamental rights in the Indian Constitution have been taken from A. Russian
Ma'am, we
Constitution.
can't see the slide.
You can't? Were the earlier slides visible?
Ma'am, it's still on the first slide on the screen.
Now?
No, ma'am, not visible.
We can
Okay,
see the
I'll start
introduction
again.
one.
Ma'am, make it full screen and then share it.
Now is it visible?
Yes, ma'am, it's visible now.
So the first question, fundamental rights in the Indian Constitution have been taken from A, Russian Constitution, B, US Constitution, C, British Constitution, or D, the Government Act of 1935. All right, next one. Which part of the Indian Constitution contains fundamental rights of the citizens? A, part 2, B, part 3, C, 7th schedule, or D, none of the above. I hope you are writing your answers. Third, in the Indian Constitution.
Ma'am, could you please
Yes.
go back the second question?
Okay. Which part of the Indian Constitution contains the fundamental rights? Part 2, part 3, 7th schedule, or none of the above?
Ma'am, yes, I'm done. Thank you.
Yes. Third is on your screen. In the Indian Constitution, as per fundamental rights, abolition of untouchability is a right to equality, B, right to freedom of religion, C, right against exploitation, or D, right to constitutional remedy. Done?
Yes, ma'am.
Fourth, which among the following countries was earliest to give women the right to vote? Now this is a constitutional General knowledge question. France, US, New Zealand or UK? Done?
Yes, ma'am.
Fifth question. The principles of welfare state in the Indian Constitution are enshrined in preamble, directive principles, fundamental rights, or the seventh schedule. We are talking about the principles of welfare state. Next, democracy is better than dictatorship because A, it reduces equality, enhances dignity of people, suppresses public opinion, or the state has absolute power. Seventh,
Ma'am, could you please go back for a minute?
now
Yes, I'm done. Thank you.
which is the largest democracy in the world? India, US, Japan, or UK? Eight, to enforce the fundamental rights, which among the following courts have or has authority to issue writs? A, Supreme Court, B, High Courts, C, District Courts, or D, A and B? Next, which of the following is described as the soul of the Constitution? Fundamental rights, fundamental duties, directive principles, or the preamble? Soul of the Constitution. Tenth, the preamble of the Constitution is based on A, philosophy of India, B, objectives resolution drafted and moved by Pandit Nehru? C. Indian culture, or D. Religious concept? Eleventh, the preamble states that the Constitution derives its authority from A. Indian culture, B. Government of India, C. The people of India, or D. The princely states. I think the questionnaire is very, very simple. You all need to get full marks. Twelfth question. Economic justice as one of the objectives of the Indian Constitution has been provided in A. The preamble and the fundamental rights, B. The preamble and the directive principles, C. The fundamental rights and directive principles, or none of the above. I am talking about economic justice. Next, the ideals of liberty, equality, and fraternity in the preamble have been taken from French Revolution, Russian Revolution, American Civil War, or none of the above. Second last question. What does the term secular mean? A. All religions are equal in the eye of the government, and the state does not uphold any particular religion as its official religion. B. Special importance to religion related to minorities. C. One religion is promoted by the government, or D. None of the above. And the last question. Which of the following statements is or are true? First, India's membership of the Commonwealth of Nations does not affect India's sovereignty in any manner. B. India's membership of United Nations organization does not limit India's sovereignty. C. India can either acquire a foreign territory or secede a part of its territory in favor of a foreign state. D. all of the above. I hope all are done with the 15 questions.
Yes, ma'am.
Yeah. So these are the answers. Please evaluate yourself and post your result in the chat box. Good, you got 11 correct. Very good, 14. That's really nice. Which one did you fail to understand? 7, fine. 13, good. 13, good. 11, nice. Any score above 10 is good. 13 and 14 are excellent. 12, good. Good. Good to see most of you are about 10. Good. Very good. Good. Anyone who got 15 out of 15? All are done with the results? I think few are left. Please evaluate yourselves and post the result so that we can move ahead. Good. Most of you have got 11 and 12 correct. Good. 13. Nice. So the highest is 14, I guess. All right. So those who have got 13 and 14, congratulations, you have done really well. And it seems that you have understood what I was trying to teach. That's nice. Okay, so now we start. Those who are remaining pending results can be uploaded in the chat box simultaneously, no issues. Next topic, that is decentralization and Panchayat Raj in India. Today we will be dealing with the historical background and the importance of Panchayat Raj in India. How many of you are aware about the Panchayat system in India? Can you just give me a thumbs up in the chat box? Anyone aware about the Panchayat system in India? Okay. Arya is aware about Panchayat Raj. Anyone else? Okay. Swara, Manjiri. Okay, so you have heard about Panchayat Raj and have a little bit idea about it, right? It is nothing but a grassroots level organization in the entire governance, that is the government, right? So in Indian context, when we talk about decentralization, it is not just at the central and the state level, but also at the grassroots level, that is the local level, which is known as Panchayati Raj. Now, is Panchayati Raj a new thing for us? The answer is no. Panchayat system has been inculcated and there since the Indian civilization started. So we will see as to how we trace back in history to know about as to what were the salient features of these panchayat systems which were existing prior to British, not just pre-independence from the British era, but before that. Okay. Now this decentralization at the local level has strengthened our democracy, and that's the reason why we are the world's largest democracy. And we are successfully dealing with our local and central issues at the same time efficiently. That is the most important. Now, why is such decentralization important? As I told you earlier, the problems at the center, state, and local level are different. The problems we face at each level are totally different. So, it is necessary that for taking care of these geographical different problems and to develop that particular level, we need to have an efficient set of organs which are functioning for the development. So for the rural development, Panchayat Raj and the local governments play a very, very important role. The other thing is it gives better management and coordination between different levels of government. It reduces poverty because it attends the factors of socio-economic life at the grassroots level. The regional disparities are taken care of. So, for example, if I talk about the environment, Okay, we will talk about how governments work, say in case of environment. At national level, the problems which the government, central government faces is different. They are going to think about India as a whole nation. Okay, so carbon emission, the different protocols which need to be followed, the total count of the tigers in whole of India, or the wildlife, the rivers, everything. So they are going to look at the environment in totality. When we talk about the state government, we all know that we are a geographically wide nation, and each part or each state has a different kind of environment. Is our climate same throughout the country? Is it same? Is the environment same? No. The
No.
animals are different,
Ma'am.
right? The fauna and fauna are different. The needs are different, right? So there is a change. The state is going to talk about the entire. But within the state, is it uniform again? Take the example of Maharashtra. Is the terrain, is the environment same throughout, uniform throughout the state? Is it? Yes? Can you say the climate or the environmental needs of Mumbai are same as Pune or Nagpur?
No, ma'am.
No, there is a difference. So again, the state government is going to struggle if there is no help from the grassroots level. And thus, this is the place where the local governments play a very, the Gram Panchayat plays a very important role. I'm talking about environment. Same goes with the social conditions and economic conditions. The kind of labor which is generated, the kind of economic activities that take place in that particular area. So that is going to be taken care and developed gradually by these decentralized authorities by way of Panchayat Raj. Now, when we talk about the grassroots level uh, self-governing units of the government, it also ensures that the people at that level, the ground level, are also taking part, participating in the governance. Like earlier in the times when only the kings were ruling, was the need of common man taken into consideration at all times? The answer is no. The king will not know what is happening downstairs. It is only the people living over there who are going to actually understand their needs. So the panchayat system enables each and every citizen to put forth their point and participate actively in the governance. So that is the basic democratic decentralized unit which we are talking about. It empowers people in decision making. It also becomes more responsive to the local needs. Okay, for example, we see that there are different kinds of calamities, the hazards which take place. There is cyclone, there is too much of rain in one area. So when the local governments are given certain powers, the need of that particular area can be met quickly, better, in a better way than waiting for the center or the state to come down and then reach out with the help. So it becomes more responsive. Now, when we talk about our father of nation, that is Gandhiji, he maintained a stance that the villages are the foundation of our cities or what the cities are built upon. He always wanted the people to go back to the villages and work at the grassroots level in order to make the foundations of modern India strong. What we see is many people from the rural areas are being diverted to the cities, maybe because of better facilities, economic growth, uh, and other socio-economic upliftment. But at the same time, villages also play a vital role in the development of the country. And this is what he emphasized on, that keep villages as the fundamental unit for the development of the country. He said that India lives in villages. We cannot say that villages are not developed now, but this happened only because of the awareness about decentralization in our governance. Article 40 of the Directive Principles of State Policy, as we have seen yesterday, talks about local governance and establishment of village panchayat. It was almost 5 decades after, in 1993, that the revolution of making Panchayat Raj as a formal institution was taken up, and it became an integral part of the Indian Constitution. As I told you, that the local government system is more than 4,000 years old. That is, it starts right from the beginning of Indian civilization. This concept of Panchayat Raj has been there since ancient medieval and the British Raj. It underwent immense upgradation and degradation during this entire period. So we will just see a glimpse of how it changed and how it evolved during the historical period. That is pre-independence era. Am I clear till here? Are you following? Yes? Is it fine?
Yes, ma'am.
Yes, ma'am.
Okay. So the word panchayat, as you all know, is derived from a Sanskrit word which talks about 5 persons. Okay, these 5 people are persons are going to come together and collectively take care of the affairs of the village. That is the concerned area. Now, the institution of Panchayat Raj was not just a mere development by the kings and the queens later on, but you will find the essence of Panchayat Raj being referred in Rigveda, Manusmriti, Dharma Shastras, Atharva Shastra, and so on, which are the basic documents, old documents relating to the Raj Dharma and the governance of the state. Those are the basic documents which have given us the way in which governance took place in the ancient time. Okay. Now, what was the basic aim of this Panchayat Raj? It was to take care of not only the taxation matters, that is the civil matters, but also the criminal matters. Criminal matters, it may be family matters. They all were taken care by the Panchayat. Okay. The Manusmriti uh, and Shanti Parva of Mahabharata has several references to the existence of village councils that time. Okay. Now, at that time, Panchas generally used to be a head of the small villages which were there, okay, they were clubbed together. 5 or 6 villages were clubbed together, and the headman of each village was part of that panchayat. And if there is any matter within that small village, it will go to the headman. And if there is any inter-village dispute, it was taken care by the council, that is the all the 5 panchas of those villages. So you can see that how well equipped the judicial system was prevailing even at that time when we talk about governance in ancient India. Arthashastra also talks about, that is the Kautilya's Arthashastra, also talks about the village administration, the way in which the headmen and the other people had to appeal, the way in which the proceedings used to take place. Now, when we talk about these village headmen, they were accountable. First, they were accountable to the people living in that small unit, that is the village, as well as they were also accountable to the king. So when there is accountability on both the sides, both the ends, they have to perform well. Because collection of state taxes was relating to the king was interested in that, plus the control of activities and offenses were also taken. It was the first court where people used to take their grievances to, and then later on it was the king. So the first, that is now what we have, the first stage of courts, that was nothing but the panchayat. We also find references of village republics in Ramayana. It talks about self-governing village communities, right? And it being the basic unit of administration in Vedic era. Now, earlier, during the Vedic period, there were 2 assemblies, like we have now houses. There were 2 assemblies, Sabha and Samiti. The Samiti was related, so where the people, the Vedic, the higher class people who formed an assembly and enjoyed the right of electing the king. Fine. And the Sabha was the group of people who were exercising the judicial function. Both Sabha and Samiti enjoyed respective rights and had benefit of the what you can say, of the people and the king together. So a long period of time, when the Vedic period was at its apex, the Sabha and Samiti enjoyed and were held responsible and are known for their decisions. But later on, as we know that absolute power corrupts absolutely, it became a kind of nobilistic or a power corrupt institution. The Sabha was exploiting the people, villagers, and the Samiti was with more power and was taking more favors from the king for election. So again, the corruption seeped in and it led to fall of this beautiful system of Sabha and Samiti. Now, first, when we talk about the headman of the village, which was there, the basic unit, it was earlier elected. Okay, the basic form is election, but later on, with corruption seeping it at Sabha and Samiti itself, his post became hereditary. And once something becomes hereditary, we all know that it is bound to fall to the lowest level of its kind. Right? The same thing happened, and hence you see that the Sabha, Samiti, everything was narrowed down and it all vanished. And again, you had the monarchs which came. After that time, there were certain pockets in India where the Panchayat Raj still existed, but it was, as earlier, it was a neutral body where all sets of the society made from the class, race, or profession, they all were equally represented in the panchayat system. Later on, it became only on the basis of caste. So right now, what you call as khap panchayats, which are the mostly the caste panchayats, took grounds in India. And we all know that when only one class of the society starts taking or assuming power, it tends to corrupt later on. Corruption, I'm not only talking about monetary terms, but also in terms of social and economic favors as well. In the south, they had village assemblies who were taking note of the decision making, and different representatives from different groups were also there. So again, it was the center of the social life and the focus was there. All right. In the Mauryan period, which is known as one of the golden eras of governance in India, again, villages were taken as the smallest or the basic unit of administration. Chandragupta Maurya was the one who realized that local administration is very, very important because he had a large empire which was taken almost the entire country that time. He knew that making it into smaller parts is going to help him in better governance, and that's the reason why he divided his local administration into two parts. One is the municipal administration and the second is rural administration. Municipal was at the, for example, at the state level, all right, and rural where the villages are concerned. And it worked while he was still there. Later on, again, corruption and other things started. In Kautilya's Arthashastra, we have to see that he had a term called as Gram Vruddhas. According to Kautilya, men, okay, again, men, not women. Women were nowhere in the scene for administrative purpose that time when we talk about the Arthashastra. Hmm? At that time, men who had aged, had good character, and had attained certain confidence of the villagers, they were called as the Gram Vruddhas, and their opinions were taken as the wisdom of the village. Okay, so that was the notion as to how the Gram Vruddhas were appointed to run the basic administrative unit that time. You will see that Kautilya also gives a very well-defined structure at the local level. The village elders are known as Gramik. Okay, they are the basic administrative and judicial officers there. Now, when the Gramik, that is the elders, are going to work, of course, they need certain assistance from the other villages, right? So they also had Gram Sabha. So you have the Gramik, and below that, the helping hand is the Gram Sabha. There is an officer named as Gopa, who is used to check the Gramik. So above Gramik, you have the Gopa, and above Gopa, you have the Sthani. And that person is appointed by the governor. So there is again governor over it. And governor is appointed by the king. So the king is the apex part. So you have the king, governor, Sthani, Gopa, then Gramik, and then Gram Sabha. So this is the chronology in which the system was set to take care of the administrative and judicial functions under the Kautilya's Arthashastra. Okay, so you see that it is well linked. There is checks and balances. Everyone is supervised, right, and controlled. Now you will say that what about the king? There is no one above him, right? Even then, that time in Kautilya's Arthashastra, he talks about rule of law. So the Shastras and the Rajadharma were the rule of law that time, and the king was not allowed to go beyond it. So like we have the constitution written down right now, in the same way the principles were laid down in the Rajdharma. So the king was also accountable to that. So you always have a check and balance, so which it gave a very beautiful structure to the administration on paper that time. Then after Mauryas, you have the Rashtrakuta kingdom. Okay, they also had division of their the geographical area into districts, state, and the village. Again, village was the basic unit of our administration. Again over here, but the problem was that they had a hereditary administrator of village. So the headman of the village was based upon hereditary. He was helped by the others, villagers, elders in the village, who were called as Gram Mahajan or Gram Mahatra. This is very unique about the village administration in Rashtrakuta kingdom. That was that they managed the local schools, tanks, temples, and other things which is relating to the infrastructure. Earlier, what we saw, they were only taking care of the taxes and the civil and the criminal matters. They were not looking into the infrastructural matters that. So this is one step ahead. The simple disputes were also taken by the committee, but the higher offenses were going to the king and not being dealt with by the villagers. I hope you all are awake and not asleep.
Yes,
Okay.
ma'am, we are there.
Then you move to Cholas. Cholas had two assemblies called as Ur and Sabha or Mahasabha. Again, the autonomy was the same. Villages were the smallest unit and were taken by care by the executive committees, who of course owned property and who were elected for a period of 3 years. Now this is a change. Okay, from hereditary, you move on to 3 years of elected period. Cholas had a tradition of self-governance, but it weakened later on. Again, it became hereditary, the Nayakship, the governor were the noble princes. So again, corruption and self-centered governance came into being. You will see that in history, everything starts with a very good structure, and later on, when people start getting more power, it starts to tends to corrupt it. That's the reason why checks and balances is always needed. No absolute power has to be given to anyone. Now, when the Turks came in, they liked the idea of local administration, but they divided their area into small units, and the Turkish nobles only were allowed to rule those units. So the locals had a setback. Only the Turkish nobles are going to take care of it. They were the smallest unit was called as Pargana, and the head was the Amil. Gupta period, again, it started off good. Rich and dominant castes then acquired the power at the village level, and again, it started with the downfall. So, till the time everything was good, no corruption. The unit was the Panchayat Raj, as we call it, was taking care beautifully of the local unit. But later on, casteism, wealth, ownership, everything seeped in. Then you have the corruption and the downfall of the panchayats. Participation of females at no level in panchayat system. There was no, what you can say, democratic unit or democratic administration at panchayat level later on. So you start the downfall. Then you have the Mughal period. Mughal period, again, it was the village elders administered justice, imposed punishments. Now, the punishments which were imposed earlier, it was according to the Arthashastras, the punishments were given. Later on, when Mughals came in, they brought in their own criminal law. There was a huge difference between the earlier punishments and the uh, Islamic punishments which were there. They were more barbaric. Now, in order to get away with a barbaric punishment, you will do anything and everything. And hence, more corruption seeped in again. Okay. Now, even in the Mughal era, you will find Akbar acknowledged this system, and at that time it flourished. He was known for his administration. So again, it was at apex. They took care of the local taxation, administration, justice, control, and punishment. Punishments were again as per the Islamic law. That so till here is everything clear? Yes.
Yes, ma'am.
Yeah. Do you want me to continue with British Raj? Do you have that capacity now?
No,
I
ma'am.
can go on. Huh? Yes. Or should we quickly revise what we did earlier in this decentralization and then move forward?
Yes, ma'am.
Yeah. We saw different eras of ancient India where all have recognized village as the smallest unit or the basic unit of administration. Earlier, the headman was the person taking care of administration of taxes and judicial decisions, right? Then we saw that after few years it became hereditary, and then it went on to the downfall. Each and every period the same story has been continued. It goes to the apex, the goodness, and then it falls down when power corrupts. Absolutely. Fine. Next, we talk about the British period. when Britishers came in, our villages were flourishing that time. Everything was in place. But when Britishers came in, they were traders. They didn't really mean to regulate us. They only wanted to have more trade, absolute trade, and gain much more wealth. The entire focus was on trade and wealth. So that's the reason why they started getting into administration. Was the aim of the Britishers that time to make India a better country? The answer is no, of course. So you will see that the policies which were made and enacted that time by the Britishers was not in favor of the locals. It was always in a favor of the Britishers. They did not give any kind of what you can say, lay down any governance relating to public health, medical aid, good education. If you start giving education to the others, how will they outwit the locals, right? So you want them to remain dumb. We got educated by one or the other means, but it took a lot of time for us to come over it. Primary focus again trade, and for a trade you do a little bit of governance. Local governments not an priority. They only wanted to acquire different states. So they removed the basic unit and they established their colonies or their centers. If you see the centers, it is at Bombay, Madras, right? Bengal. That's it. So the ports were taken as the basic units. Village panchayat gone in air. No administrative structures. So that's why if you see the administrative history of British, it always changed with a new officer coming in as a governor. Everybody had their own kinds of whims and fancies and way of governing, and hence you will see there is a constant change in the governance pattern, which led to disruption of local life, disruption of governance in India, right? Then they realized that there is a problem in administration because there is no uniformity, right? Mumbai, the center is dealt differently. Bengal, which is a huge province, is dealt differently. Madras, differently. So there is no coordination, and when they acquired whole of India, there was total chaos. Taxes, again different. So what happened is in 1720, they realized that no, we need some kind of uniformity. So we'll say from 1720 to 1870, they started to have some kind of uniformity by way of implementing or establishing municipalities throughout the British India. It took them so many years to realize that what loss they had or what chaos they had done to Indian administrative unit. Next, after municipalities, they also had district boards and village panchayats, which again came into being. In 1870, Lord Mayo, he was the Governor General in Council that time. He passed a resolution for decentralization of power and wanted a efficient administration in order so that the demands of the people could be met, and it was easy for the British Raj itself to control the entire British India, because by that time they had covered the entire India. So this was also passed because of the pressure of 1857 revolt which happened. Because if you have revolts taking place in all small parts of India and you are only having 20 people in the center ruling the entire country, they are not going to be able to suppress anything, right? So you need to have smaller units to have better control. And that is the reason why Panchayat system came in again. Are you following till here what is happening in India?
Yes, ma'am.
Yes.
Yes, ma'am.
Anyone else wants to add anything? Yes, anyone wants to add? Any questions? Because now we start with the good part. Lord Ripon did a good job in developing the local government in India in 1882. Okay, by that time, the small revolts were happening all over India, and he came in as a viceroy, and he said that no, local bodies are needed in order to take care of this country. You need to have funds composed for election, non-official members need to be there, chairmen should be appointed, and local governments need to be appointed. So he planned out a local self-government plan where the local boards were split into smaller units to have greater efficiency. All right, and elections took place for the local boards. Of course, the natives of certain class or having certain favors of the government were elected on those locals. Not all as general public were allowed to stand for these elections. But it marks a landmark because it started off with the evolution of local governments in India. On the scene overview, it shows that he looks to be liberal and having a good thought about good governance in India, and that's the why it is called as Magna Carta of the local democracy in India, because it was the first time Britishers took efforts to have local government. Now this resolution which was passed established rural local bodies, two-thirds of whose membership was to be composed by elected representatives. And he brought in the concept of self-governments in the urban municipalities. So he is also treated as the father of urban local government. In 1906, Dadabhai Nauroji, he affirmed and he was a staunch follower of self-government as a political goal for the country. They also passed a royal commission, and they also had a pact which took care of the in interest of decentralization and associating local people for the task of administration like it was done in the ancient times. National Congress also adapted this and recognized the local bodies and efficiency of them. Then so on, you have the what you can say, realization and interest of local governments or the smaller units to be recognized. Gandhiji was always in favor of village panchayats, as we have seen that he thought that decentralization will give more economic and political power to the villages, which will in effect strengthen the entire system of governance in India. All right, are we clear till here? Yes, any doubts still here? Because this is where we stop for the pre-independence. After independence, that is tomorrow, we will see as to what is enshrined in the Indian Constitution. Any doubts?
No, ma'am.
No? Anything else you want to know about this pre-independence era? Anyone? Huh?
Could you please share these all PPTs with us so that we could read this information?
Sure, you will get this recorded video, right?
Yeah, but the PPTs, like we'll have to like keep on taking screenshots of those videos. So if
Okay,
we
I
do-
will talk to your concerned teacher, Chitra ma'am, and I'll give you the PPTs. No issue.
Okay, ma'am. Thank you.
Yeah. Anything else? Okay. So I think we can stop for today.
Yes, ma'am.
Yes, ma'am.
The teacher coordinator.
Yes, ma'am.
Yes, ma'am. I am done for the today's topic. So can we start the next topic tomorrow?
Yeah, sure, ma'am. Okay, yeah,
Okay.
fine.
Okay.
Thank you.
Thank you,
so
ma'am.
much. Yeah, thank you.
Thank you, ma'am.
Thank you, ma'am.